was the last child that saw the incident that said daddy pushed mommy from the step and mommy sprawled from the step and hit her head at the last point of the step. But the man said she slipped. I kept pleading with her, Chine, please, even if it's 2 weeks, give this man a little space. I think the man has had it up to here. He needs space. Finally, Chine was brought home as a corpse.
You probably know someone who is passing through this, or you are passing through it, and that is domestic violence. And so today with me is a woman who has distinguished herself in different spheres of life and who is raising the bar amongst women. She's no other person than the executive director, HEROINE Women Foundation, and the president of Women Support Women Movement. She's also bagged numerous prestigious awards. Amongst them is the Best Advocacy Person of the Year, Distinguished Woman of the Year, Award of Excellence, Exemplary Woman of the Year, amongst many others. About 50 of them. This woman is truly raising the bar. She's no other person than Mrs. Onyi Mamah. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So you've been in this for so long a time. From what you've seen so far, describe for us what domestic violence is all about.
All right. So thank you so much, Val, for the opportunity to talk to people once more. And I just hope I'm going to drop a lot of values, lots of values for us to impact our lives and have a U-turn on our perspectives in some things. So domestic violence, I want to first of all coin it into 2 words first and then break it down. So saying domestic violence is like saying relationship violence, right?
Okay, yeah.
So domestic violence doesn't take place except with someone you share the same space with, the same cubicle, you share a home with, you share an interference with that is steady. You must have built a relationship with that person, whether a nodding acquaintance or a very familiar one, to call it domestic.
Okay.
So most times when we hear domestic, it's home. It comes to happen from the home, right? So if your office is a larger sense of home for you, that's where you can also say domestic violence is happening. But it happens with relationship.
Oh, yeah. I see it's prevalent amongst women or ladies. A woman who was abused by the husband, beaten to stupor, she was bleeding, holding the child. And then after everything, the woman still said, I want to stay with my husband. So what do you think is the root cause?
That's something that spans from the place of familiarity. It is us trying to enjoy the content, the displeasure and the pain that comes from personal relationship as if it should be managed. So the woman, it's looking at the affection she has grown over the years and over time, and maybe his good side as compared to the side of the man that batters her up.
Okay.
So the man could be a man that is wild with outbursts. But on the other side of the man, he could be that side of man that helps with washing dishes, washing clothes, but he possibly throws tantrums to the level you can't contain. I once had a friend. He wasn't really close to me. He was coming and said that he wants to marry me and all of that. So one of the days I looked at him and said, you're nice for a friend though. Was he having that conversation and another guy came and started complimenting me and he beat the guy up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that day I looked at him and I said, yes, he's going to be loving, he's handsome, he's learned, but his wild reaction to sensitive things can make him beat you up and still apologize. Do you know what happened, Val? Immediately he finished beating that boy and pushing the guy away, he turned and he knelt down in the road and started pleading. So it's a version of what most women go through. There's a loving side of that man that is very tender, but the outburst side of that man is not something you may want to wriggle with, right? I've seen a lot of women who say, my husband is loving, my husband is good. It's just that when he's mad, he must beat me.
Mm.
And what the society sees from that relationship is the beating aspect.
Okay.
Yeah. So domestic violence cannot really happen except there's a little familiarity and a relationship that has been built.
Okay.
Now, the difference is wild tantrum, insensitive outbursts, and angers that cannot be managed by individual men is what has really fueled up the level of domestic violence at home. The submission is men are adventurous, men are wild, men are fun seekers. So, whatever it takes a man to go to a particular woman and say, I want to walk down the aisle with you, was not a desperate decision, apart from the ones who probably got pregnant for a man and you were forced on the man. For a man who actually came out and said, be my spouse, let's walk down the aisle and say, I do. That man had something about him and you that he never knew will result to violence.
Okay.
But violence will certainly creep in because you people are two different people from two socially grounded backgrounds. Now, there's a way Val could be reacting to sensitive discussions, and there's a way I may be reacting to sensitive reactions. There are people who have what we call extended humor, and there are people who manage humor. So for them, if you want to throw those jests and gisting and what we call imajake
Yeah.
in Igbo, you have to measure it.
Yeah.
So for people like us who have extended humor, by the time we are getting angry, that means it was have gone out of scale.
Yeah.
And if you have a playful husband like my own, you should have that extended humor. Because he will call you names for a dozen minutes. Right? And another thing is, we live in a time where poverty is one of the major drivers of violence at home.
Okay.
Yes, most of our husbands have lost their job. Most of our husbands do not have well-paying jobs. Then most of our husbands have cut down on their sources of raising income. Probably because the companies have been shut down, their companies have left Nigeria, or the companies have decided for us to survive, we'll be paying half of what we used to pay. And you know, aggression, they say, is being dropped on the person who is closest to you.
True.
So the nearest person who eats from that aggression is either the wife or the children. That's why families suffer a lot of domestic violence. The man's initial intention was not to destroy his family. But too many things will act as triggers to what will destroy that family. Not having enough money, not having a wife who is sensitive enough to know that you're still demanding things from him the same way you used to demand from him when he used to be in money.
Yeah.
Not understanding that there's a proper time to ask and there's a proper time to severe.
Good.
So these things are triggers. And you know, women were naturally instilled with shock absorbers that men don't have.
Okay.
They don't need to battle it with us. We can be answering the little child, answering the twins, answering our husband, trying to cook in the kitchen. We multitask. But the men, they want a major concentration at every given period to understand that they are delivering something. And so with that, you're coming to ask for school fees. You're telling him the house rent is due. You're telling him that you need to change your wardrobe. You're telling him the children do not have shoes to wear. And he's thinking about his job that is not well paying. The nearest thing he will do is to try to severe by either raising his voice so high or by doing some wild actions. Because as an expert, we've also taken our time to read into things that promote domestic violence.
Okay.
Another one we discovered is the men that keep women outside. So there's a natural tendency that if your attraction and your happiness comes from outside, the home will irritate you.
True. Very true.
Yes. So if where you find the spice and the sugar, it's outside, what the woman does at home will bring irritation. And with that irritation, you want to pummel her. And you know how children could be. Children don't have a proper timing and clock. So they're all over the same man who is angry at home. And so his greatest way of expressing himself is either battering or going all violent on the woman. And you know, domestic violence It's not just the battering or the beating. There's also the psychological aspect of violence, where he begins to ignore his wife's talk. He begins to ignore her in the room. He begins to act as if he's not interested in her activities again. He stops complimenting her.
Okay.
He's not even interested in what the woman is wearing or how she's dressed. He doesn't even notice in the past 1 year or 6 months, he doesn't notice that the woman is wearing a new hairstyle, even though he didn't bring money for it. So that could really be very traumatizing to a lot of women.
Very true.
You see your husband, probably you have a husband that is not at home. You see him on WhatsApp practically all the hours, and he can't say hi to you, knowing that he's saying hi to somebody else.
Yeah.
It could be traumatic emotionally. And that's another high level of violence we're battling with in homes now. Then the economic form of violence, financial abuse.
Yeah.
Listen, women are home builders. Tell her you have 3,000 and minutes. And let her see that in all sense of judgment and measurement, you have 3,000. Not telling her you have 3,000 and 2,200 is for ompa and a plate of suya that will be cupped down by only you.
Mm-hmm.
The insensitivity is high, and the woman is seeing that she has 3 children to look after, including herself, and all other exigencies that are lying at home. And you say a man will not die because he has a family. You go for 2 very cold chilled bottles of ompa, and you go down a full hot plate of pepper soup, disregarding the family you have at home.
Yeah.
So when women see things like this, they tend to react. Most times they overreact.
Okay.
And that overreaction brings about a certain level of violence nobody will want to see.
Okay.
So poverty, it's a major trigger. It's one of the greatest fuel of domestic violence. Having external activities
Yeah.
where you find your spice and your sugar is outside, you will certainly not be happy at home. 3 is the economy. For example, I drive a Mercedes. The normal range of fueling I do a day is 30,000 to 32,000 for to and fro before you get to your house. And you would want to ask yourself, how much is my income? How much do I earn per month or per year? So for an average man that has school fees, house rent, clothing, exigencies, hospital bills, and all whatnot, including his extended family, to face that kind of current economy, it will take a man who is spirit-filled and very understanding to still be laughing.
No.
But if you have a woman who is sensitive enough, she should know when to withdraw, when to approach, and when to react. The best time to react with a man is when he's happy. And when I mean reaction, he's not coming with, you are an idiot, you're stupid. Reaction I mean is, but honey, you are not soft on me the other day. Honey, these children are our children. 3,000 can at least get us okra and vegetable without meat.
The approach.
It can also give approach is a thing. It's strong.
Yeah.
Approach is one formula that will transcend centuries.
Yeah.
It will never die.
True. Very true.
The hardest of men have been broken with excellent communication. Or you know, when a woman is also pent up with emotion and anger, don't expect good communication too, because action is not as beautiful as we say it until we start exploring it.
Yeah.
So for some of us who have understood that you can fish out a lot of seasoning from good communication, we try to use it. And even sometimes, when you use it, the man may not be in the best mood.
Yeah.
So we need to be strategized. There is no man that walked you down the aisle himself that was not meaning well for his family until things turned the way they thought. Culture is also a thing. You notice that the man is well aware that he is a man. Chauvinism subconsciously plays a role in violence. He asserts rights without understanding that the woman has some good measurable rights that she wants to assert to.
Okay.
You go for your enjoyment, not remembering that the woman at home also hungers for such enjoyment.
Okay.
Do you understand me? So when that woman feels subjugated, you will get a feeder from her that will season the violence. So it's a two-way thing.
Somebody said here, what of in a situation where you've mentioned to your spouse that you don't find her attractive on certain ways and some acts,
Very good.
and then she continues in those things?
Okay.
What should you do in such cases?
Okay, so I believe you guys must have been married at least for a year. And you won't tell me that you don't know your wife's closest approach.
Okay.
Now, if her approach is buy her a deodorant, buy her a cologne, get her the kind of wears you want her to be wearing, it may work.
Yeah.
So she may probably be looking at you as an instructor, not as a companion. Because if you keep saying, I don't want this and I don't want that, she may just be looking. Doesn't he understand that he can get me a hair, even if it's a cheap one?
Okay.
So what lovers do at times is to start with getting you those things they like. I remember I don't wear trousers, right? So one of the early years of our marriage, my husband got me a lot of G-string, like 1,000 pieces of G-string and trousers. And he said, where? I said, oh, well, Baba, you didn't meet me wearing trousers. Why is trousers now a problem? You loved me with all my flare skirts and I feel more comfortable with it. As time went on, he saw that I could come out in my skirts, come out in my gown, all cleaned up. So he started admiring the skirts and the gown because he was more into that the main attraction is for a woman's shape and trousers to be seen. I said, no, the woman can still look very intact and clean with her skirts and her gown.
Okay.
So he will see me now in very long gowns. You say, you are long gowns, but this one fits you. You're fine, oh. It makes sense. Turkey. He will call me Turkey. See how plump you are, Turkey. He's relaxed. So again, find what triggers your wife to listening to you. There is something. If it is not talking to her at the moment, it could be a bedtime moment. It could be going out with her and telling her that you are now getting distracted with the people who dress this way. You would prefer her to. There's no woman that doesn't want to keep her home.
No.
Probably, Oga, the way you're saying it may not really be dropping the icing on the cake. You need to drop the icing on the cake, which complements both what she used to do well and what she needs to do. So start with telling her, hi, baby, you're fine, no. See your shape. Hi, if you wear this kind of dress, everywhere will shut down. So basking in the compliment, she's listening to what you want.
No.
Instead of coming out rally to tell her, I don't like you, the way you used to dress, balls me, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the hardcore woman will want to wear it out of you.
Yeah, still borders down on approach.
So there's a trigger for every woman. And there's a trigger for every man. Men, their own are cheaper self. To make a man happy is the easiest thing. But the problem is that we keep struggling, and I know there's something to that struggle. Because nobody really wants to mellow down and understand who should take the first. So it doesn't matter. Woman, if you're the person doing what is keeping your home, do more. The man, if you're the person doing what is keeping your home, do more. But the competition is, I have done and done and done. You've done nothing for me. I'm tired. Am I always the person calling? Why not you call me? She probably came from a place where communication is not a priority.
Okay.
And if you don't understand that she doesn't have that foundation of always calling and checking, you would think she's not caring. Probably her own sign language or love language is to always prepare dish and keep the house neat for you.
Service.
You're looking at, hello baby, I'm missing you, you're fine, I love you. All of those.
Yeah.
You understand me? So for me, I prefer communication always. And it's lacking.
For people who, like you mentioned, love language, which is a major factor, and you said something about the people involved being sensitive.
Yes.
In a case whereby you are telling this person, this is a way to love me, and the person keeps saying no through their actions, or just wants to be reprobate.
Yeah.
In a case like that, what should the person do? Especially if it is a man.
So, two things are involved from the research I've had over the years.
Okay.
It's either he has a highly spiritual woman
Okay.
who is not sensitive to attires and definitions that will please the man. Or she's trying to tell the man, you can't do the things your way all the time.
Mm.
That's it. Without her not applying that, she's trying to tell the man with her body language, we can't have it your way all the time. That's where he needs to find out. Do you want everything in this marriage to go your way, Oga?
Okay.
The car, your choice. The house, your choice. The children, your choice. The church, your choice. The feeding, your choice. The timetable, your choice. Her dressing, your choice. Maybe she is drowning in her own choices.
Oh.
So if she's not being over spiritual with those appearances, she's trying to tell the man that this one should not debut with just your choices, with her body language.
Okay.
So he needs to be sensitive to that.
Okay.
I want you to improve this communication by finding out what she really says when the man talks to her. Yes. Because I also discovered that one of the triggers of domestic violence at home are the women trying to bust out their cocoon to say that it's not just this man that it's couple, it's us. So Val, what we find in marriages is man will come and say, I want a Mercedes black car. He buys it. I want us to live in 2-room apartments. We're packing. I want my children to go to Gracelanders. They go to Gracelanders. I want us to travel for Christmas. They travel for Christmas. I want to have a phone, ofora. So practically, the man's life is being lived insensitive and devoid of the woman's priorities and choices. Every other sensitive animal will react. So if they don't react by the fists, they will react by their emotions. If they don't react by their emotions, they will react verbally, which is very dangerous, or they react by their body language.
Okay.
So he needs to watch the choices the woman has too. Are you displaying it? Do you know that one of the days, I said to my husband, good, Baba, if you quit going to this place and you quit taking 2 or 3 bottles of, and you quit this one, I'll start wearing gin at G3. And he looked at me and he laughed. And it was like, you want to recruit me? I'm the man here. And I said, we're couples. We must make ourselves happy so that nobody's losing out in this journey. That's where the battles come from. When someone feels subjugated or relegated, there will certainly be a battle.
Okay.
And so most women react verbally. And the man takes 1 or 2 words from what she says and beats her up.
Mm.
And some will not beat you. They will drive off and go and meet one beautiful babe that's giving them smooth, touch on the back. And from there, everything spoils.
In a case whereby his own wife is the person who gets to challenge him or confront him to beat her.
Oh my God. When a woman comes to the point where she's hungering for pain from a man, she has had it to her last limit. So they need to really engage. Oga, if you're listening to me, please bring out 2 days, shut down every other work and talk. When I mean talking, I don't mean when you're talking, you'll be pressing your phone. And I don't mean when you're talking, you will be replying calls. I don't mean when you're talking, you'll be preparing for another emergency meeting. Oga, shut down 2 days and ask her what her pain is. Hey, there's so much unspoken word. When a woman is desiring for play from her man, not a man, her man, she's almost gone.
Mm.
Let me tell you, recently we had a questionnaire passed across Enugu, and I discovered that 76% of the women who responded to our questionnaire were living with their husbands at home, but they wished their husbands were not living there. 12% out of these women wish they are widows. 35% of these women wish their husbands will go to a very far place and not come back for a long time. I'm telling you, few in Enugu here. So if 76% of some of the beautiful women you find in Enugu are tired of their husbands, what is left? The men must have a meeting point. So it's not about engaging in the bar. It's not about going to the club. It's not even about your side chick. Me, I'm not here to preach to you about having double homes. But if you want to do double home, keep your home intact. Make sure the home is not suffering while the outside is busy. Because I tell you, if you must build a home that is safe, sound, and what you're being called a home, you must give absolute crude attention, undiluted attention to the home. So I don't know how you intend to do that with keeping multiple girls outside. A woman that is desirous of being beaten by the husband. Hey. I love that this is happening today and people are speaking out. Please, Olga, shut down. Have a heart-to-heart talk. That heart-to-heart talk, I want to tell you what will happen. If you talk for 100 hours, she will cry 82% of the time. Because she will say things you never knew you were guilty of. And at that moment, also tell her things you don't like her doing.
Wow. Somebody says that she feels awkward if the man in her life doesn't beat her to correct her.
I've heard that.
Please, where is this coming from?
Okay, so I've heard that a couple of times. And, Val, I think we're going to make our time sometime later to talk about faulty foundations, right?
Yeah.
You see, love is imbibed. Love is grown with. If you grow from a foundation where love is practical, love is almost tangible.
Yeah.
You can almost feel the palpitation of the members of the family. You won't want a man to beat you to express his love.
Yeah.
Love is soft. Love is accommodating. Love understands you. Love brings you close. Love gives you a pat on the back. No wonder the Bible says that love covers a multitude of sin. So when you're covering somebody's sin, will you be beating them to show them? It's faulty. It's not natural. It's an abnormal instinct to want to be beaten. Even children, not knowing much, when you bring cane or you want to beat them, they plead with all their hearts and they kneel down and they raise their hands and they say, "Mommy, please." And some of the children will tell you, "Mommy, I love you so much." That's to soften your heart. And then another adult is saying you're feeling awkward to be beaten. Both the beater and the beatee, if there's an English like that, needs to have a reset. You don't beat to express love. You can discipline. You don't need to batter.